Here we are at Stonehenge in Wiltshire, England, one of the most iconic sites on the whole planet. One of the reasons we're here is the fact that most of these stones, apart from just a handful, came from West Woods, where I've been researching with Nicholas Cope. And so we're delighted to share this with you. We think we've pinpointed the stones that didn't come from West Woods. Almost all of these ones did, apart from the blue stones, the green altar stone, and 2 or 3 stones in the northern area. So here we have the classic Sarsen stones, 30 uprights and 30, potentially 29 lintels. We'll show you why in a moment. These all came from West Woods. All these large stones we see that are the trilithons and the outer ring. And the reason they know they came from West Woods, in 1958, there was a researcher here who made a drill core and he kept it in his collection. And because of that, he kind of kept it till he was like 90 years old. And the eve of his 90th birthday, he released it to the public, gave it back to archaeologists who then analysed it and worked out that actually they came from West Woods, which is up near Pewsey, kind of Alton Barnes area, which is a very famous place in itself, up towards the Avebury area, maybe 20 miles as the crow flies. And so this is just a fascinating aspect of this, that they were picking these stones from particular spots, not only for geodetic reasons, like we have with the lunation triangle with the blue stones coming from the Preseli area of Wales, but also maybe spiritual and kind of magical reasons, hence the reason they may have bought them from West Woods, which has all this history, which Andrew Collins is going to share with us, the mysteries of that particular area. Hey Megalithomaniacs, how you doing? I'm here with Nicholas Cope and we are at West Woods. Now this is a really interesting spot. This is where a recent paper has been put out that says the original Sarsen stones from Stonehenge came from these woods. So we're here, we're checking it out. We know there's a long barrow, there's a possible standing stone, and we're going to see if we can locate any of the Sarsens that made their way 25 kilometers as the crow flies to Stonehenge, which is about 18-19 miles. It's a bit further south than where people thought originally they came from, which is Fifield Down, but we're going to investigate and check this out, and we'll give you more information about what has been discovered through the archaeologists as we explore.
The recent news that the Sarsen stones that were used to create the greater part of Stonehenge, having come from a place called West Woods, is very, very exciting and very interesting and quite different to what was traditionally thought. It was believed in the past that they'd come from the Fifield Down, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of the stones laying all over the place, and it was assumed that they were taken from there. But now we know that they came from West Woods.
So Nick is just taking me to one part of the woods here, which he spotted before and he wants to show me, so we can, you know, get it on record, where he believes there's a standing stone here, quite a large standing stone. So one of the Sarsens that was found here, which could have made their way to Stonehenge, has actually been turned upright into like a standing stone. So whether that was done thousands of years ago or more recently, we don't know, but let's go and take a look. Oh, there we go. Look at that. See it, Nick's just walking up to it now. Look at that. So whether that's just been turned upright recently, whether that marks the spot of where the Sarsens may have come from Stonehenge, is really interesting. So we're going to take a GPS reading of this, because like with the blue stones up in Preseli in Wales, there's a geodetic connection that Robin Heath worked out with the whole lunation triangle thing. So perhaps there's a geodetic connection between here, Stonehenge, and possibly even the Preseli bluestone site, so it could all be connected. So we'll check that out afterwards. We'll get GPS readings. Let's have a closer look at this stone. Now that could go very deep in the ground. It could be twice the length in the ground. Looks like it's about 5 feet high. That is really interesting.
Some very interesting marks on it as well.
Oh, so Nick's just saying there's some... Oh yeah, there is, isn't there?
Yeah, apparently some of these stones in this area, in the West Woods, have been proven to be sharpening stones for stone axes. Whether that's what those marks are there, I doubt it. But we'll have a look around the other side, and hopefully here we might find some of those stones. But this stone here is very interesting. It's kind of leaning slightly uphill, but like you said, we don't know how long it is, how deep it's in the ground. But there are some interesting marks here. I mean, this bowl area here, look at that. Was that for sharpening a stone? Was that for sharpening an axe?
So if we get close in, Nick's just described what we're looking at here. We're getting a bit of sun flare on this, but this looks like looks like striations down the stone. So this could be for sharpening, as Nick said, or it could be the sort of technique that we see at the main site of Stonehenge, where we see two stones there, very large ones. One of the ones that's recumbent that has this on it. So that would be interesting if this is like a sign saying, hey, you know, this is where we got our stones from. So on the back of the stone here, you appear to have, it looks like it's been broken off. It looks like parts of the stone have actually been broken off here. This is really, really intriguing. So yeah, this looks like could be the same composition, the exact same Sarsens as we find at Stonehenge. So there are some old breaks on here that Nick's pointing out along this side, down here. So does that mean this was actually quarried and used? And I'm just amazed by these striations and this sort of big cut mark. This is something very odd, because that is exactly like we find on a couple of the stones at Stonehenge. So these just show you the striations up close, so you can see them clearly. Actually, if we go around here, surrounded by a beautiful holly tree. Look at the big old cut mark there. Oh my God, there's two of them. There's one down there. So this is very strange. So this isn't even a cut. This almost looks like this would have been a lintel. You got one like part of a mortise and tenon joint there, and you've got a second one there. So was this originally carved as a lintel? It seems that maybe it's a bit far-fetched, but you've got them both there. Plus you've got the striations and the breaks. This is very odd indeed. And then you've got this, what Nick has pointed out, almost looks like a kind of footprint facing downwards. So you've got the heel and then the front there, so, and the middle part there. You want to put your hand there again and point it out, Nick?
So this is the heel, and you've got the toes, so it's kind of like a child's foot size.
And what's interesting as well, that me and Nick were reading up on the last couple of days, is that it's now thought the heel stone came from these woods. So I don't know if that's anything connected with that. You never know. But there's a foot on there with a heel.
But this mark here continues over this thing and comes down here.
So one other thing about this that we just spotted, I mean, that looks like a serpent's head. Let's get it from under here. It's almost like a serpent's head, which is the front of the foot, almost. And then it goes up there. It almost looks like a serpent carving on the stone, coming where these striations are, coming down to this particular point, which Nick suggests it actually goes down here. This is the body down this way, but this is really interesting. This could be like the key to sort of understanding the origins of the stones of Stonehenge.
Westwoods is an incredibly magical spot. It has been associated with a large number of sightings and encounters with mysterious objects, what you'd call earthlights, UFOs, etc., some of which have been actually at ground level. And add to this almost certainly paranormal phenomena and strange phenomena at the location, and the fact that almost certainly you have underground faulting in the area, and it tells you very clearly that the reason for choosing the stones from there was because of something that had occurred. Probably the fact that it was seen as a point of contact with otherworldly intelligences. And of course, we already know that the blue stones at Stonehenge were brought all the way from West Wales, the area of the Preseli Mountains, and the quarries there. And those quarries, according to the archaeologists, people like Mike Parker Pearson and his people, are that the reason that they were interested in bringing the blue stones from Wales all the way to Stonehenge, because there was something special about the location where the quarries are, that it was, it may have even been important in the Mesolithic age. I mean, it has been suggested that there may even have been a monument there, perhaps even using the same blue stones that were eventually brought to Stonehenge.
So we just walked up this path about maybe 2/3 of a mile from the road near where the megalith standing stone was. And we're just going in here. I'll take a GPS so you can find out the location of this. We're just walking into the woods off the main path with Nick in front of me. And this is near the long barrow. We're very near it. So this might be it. Oh my God. Difficult to see, but that is the end of a very large 40-meter long barrow. So what, 120 feet, and it's about 20 or 30 meters wide at different points. It's huge. So this would have been here before Stonehenge, the main part of Stonehenge was built. And trying to see it clearly is difficult. It's just like a small hill. Now this was excavated in the 1800s. They did find a bunch of Sarsen stones, like a dolmen, and a circular arrangement of stones making up the chamber. It was covered back up. It's kind of been desecrated in some way. Yeah, you can't really see too much.
We're at the western end here.
So yes, as Nick said, this is the western end. And if you can see him walking up it, that's actually one end. So would this be the back? This would be the back of the...
You would be at the back.
So this is the back end of the long barrow. So this would have been much like, you know, West Kennet or East Kennet long barrow, like we find near Avebury. This is obviously a bit further south and east. Let's take a walk up it and see if we can see any stones sticking out of it. But what's interesting about this is the fact that this is in West Woods. This is the area, the origin point of the Sarsen stones, the main stones at Stonehenge. 50 of the stones have been proved to come from this area. So this may have been the instigator of it. This actual barrow we're on, stones could have been chosen from this area because of the sacredness of this spot. So I've got Nick behind me there. You can sort of get a sense of scale. We're on top of the barrow now, actually on top of it. There's a big dip here where Nick's just been telling me it's probably excavations or kind of looting may have taken place. And it's very tall. I mean, we're like, what, about 30 feet above ground level, it feels like. And so this is really interesting. So someone's been up here. You can see they've left their kind of grass cutters next to that log that's been chopped. So we're still on top of the long barrow here. And yeah, it's difficult to make out really, but you can see there's a slope going down. This is a huge construction. This is on par with West Kennet. It could have had massive Sarsen megaliths within the main construction that were recorded. They were recorded as being huge. And so, yeah, we've got a strange skull-like piece of chalk down there. That's quite bizarre. And yeah, we're just walking down the eastern side now, which would have been the entrance. And that's probably over in this direction.
It's interesting that we're just at the east end now. So if there was an entrance, the original entrance, it would be roughly here. And the land is slightly raised. There seems to be a ditch around the whole barrow, which, you know, whether it's ancient or whether it's Victorian, who knows. But I wouldn't have thought many people would come here. This is, you know, that tree is basically in the middle of the ditch, and you can see it goes down here and then up where we're standing and then goes up over there. And I think it goes all the way around the barrow.
So we saw the entrance to the barrow. It's just the side of a small hill. This is the dip in the middle, and we're just walking back to the back end of it again. But this is it. This is the one that's in West Woods. This is the location of the stones of Stonehenge.
So I found these two stones, bits of flint, which to me look shaped. This one here looks like it's been shaped either side. And it's obviously broken. And there's another one here. And these could be natural, who knows. But I found them right here, right by some probably foxes' dens, badgers, I don't know. But whatever has been dug out by the foxes has to come out of these holes.
So we're just looking and standing within the kind of ditch or the henge really around this long barrow, which you can see here, and you can see them how far it raises up towards the back of it, down the western side of it. There's Nick just standing on it, and it kind of dips down, probably ends around there. We're just at the long barrow in Westwoods. This is Neolithic, goes back to at least 5,000, possibly even older, because some of these long barrows go back to 5,700 years old. Especially up in Orkney. Also West Kennet is 3,600 BC. So this could be super ancient. And with these standing stones here, it does suggest this was part of a kind of sacred landscape. There's Mesolithic discoveries have been found here. Even Nick has been finding flints here, which could go back to the Mesolithic. So we're talking 10,000 years ago. And this correlates with the Stonehenge landscape and the, Blick Mead, and also the wooden posts that were there. And so does this suggest that this was a sacred area and they deliberately chose the stones because they felt they were imbued with sacred energy of their ancestors before they took them down to Stonehenge? So we found the two sites we wanted to look at. We're going to have a quick scout round for some more Sarsens, see if there's any just lying around, because there's photos that the archaeologists put out of huge Sarsens, but they haven't given the exact locations. So we're going to try and locate them, the larger ones. But if we can't, we've spotted one on some private land we might ask if we can have a look at. And we really think that there could be, the route to Stonehenge. There's a few different options. It's all outlined in the academic paper, but I know of some quite large stones, standing stones, Sarsens, which are placed along a kind of one or two routes. One of them is at Alton Priors Church. I think it's All Saints Church. It's actually under the floorboards there. And there's others in certain villages sort of marking the route. So like in Peru, like at Ollantaytambo and Tiwanaku, for instance, in Bolivia, they could be what are called lazy stones or tired stones, which didn't make it to the site from the quarry and were kind of dropped or left there deliberately, possibly, in my opinion, part of my research, to mark this route. Now, we have similar ideas with other sites, like we have the blue stones from Stonehenge, which are geodetically linked with Stonehenge. We have Aswan Quarry and the Great Pyramid of Giza. There's geodetic connections in nautical miles between those. The same principles may apply to Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, Easter Island and other places where they always leave the largest or most sacred stones in the quarry. So this could be the location somewhere here of where those stones are. It could have indeed been this long barrow. The stones that are encased within this could have marked the sacred point, which then Stonehenge was birthed from.
We know that both the blue stones and the Sarsen stones were brought from very magical spots to create the Stonehenge. In other words, there was a significance in the use of very specific types of rock, and rock that came from very specific locations. And I believe that this is part of a trend that was there in prehistoric times that you can trace from places like Egypt, and the use of red granite from Aswan taken all over the country, to Native American places like Mount Shasta. Rocks were taken from Mount Shasta by different tribes because they were believed to have a magical quality. And you have similar ideas in the Pacific, in Australia, that there are certain locations that the rock are magical because of the place itself. And that we should therefore see this, when we see Stonehenge and we see the rocks and the stones that we used, we need to just remember that the reason why they're used is because they come from magical places to create a new magical place, or to enhance an existing magical place, somewhere that was probably associated both with the ancestors and would have been connected with the appearance of mysterious lights, earth lights, what we'd call UFOs today. The interesting thing about Westwoods is that it is very close to a number of prehistoric, particularly Neolithic sites. For instance, Adam's Grave and Milk Hill, and also Knapp Hill as well. There is an encampment, Neolithic encampment was there. And this is the ridge of the so-called Pusey Downs. And we know that deep beneath this ridge is faulting, is underground faulting that goes right the way along there. And faulting is something that is pretty certainly going to be associated with the manifestation of lights and the appearance of strange phenomena in general, you know, personal experiences, etc., etc. So it's quite likely that this area around Westwoods was seen to be almost like some kind of mythical or magical wood, and that to take the stones from there was going to bring that influence to the site of Stonehenge, either to enhance the site or to bring in those same influences, or to somehow cause the influences to appear by the presence of those stones. So is there any connection between the fact that Westwoods is very close to an area that we know to be one of the main focuses of crop circles since at least 1990, with the appearance of the first huge great formation in Eastfield, in Alton Barnes, which is very, very close to there? Well, you have to then start looking at what are crop circles, and in my opinion, a large percentage of them are human made. But what we do know is that the people that create the circles have their own strange experiences, and this can include everything from the seeing of lights to the feeling of presences to time slips to feeling energies, etc., etc. And I do happen to know that a group that were making a crop formation just by the edge of Westwoods actually saw a ball of light that came down very close to them, and it so freaked them out that even though they finished what they were doing, they got out of there in an absolute rush. I know that for a fact.
So we're just at Clatford Farm. You can see Nick behind us with the owner, and we've just had a very interesting chat actually. And on this farm, many of the Sarsen stones, and we're going to go and take a look now. We saw them as we drove by. He's given us permission to fly the drone to explore, have a look around. There's some really big ones here, so this could be one of the key locations. It's only about half a mile from the Standing Stone, maybe 3/4 of a mile from the Long Barrow in Westwoods, just on the edge of it. And we're going to go further into the woods as well to see what else we can find. But for now, we're going to have a look on the farm. So just here we've got these little birds, these little, look at these gorgeous little things. But just behind him, there's a megalith. Look at that. So you've got one of the megaliths right at his entrance here. Amazing. You can see one of the stones here at Clatford Farm, and a wall made of Sarsen stones. And then as we go in here, we start seeing many of them. Just here is a very large one. This is very interesting. Yeah, this is like a classic Sarsen like you find at Avebury or Stonehenge. It looks like it's got some kind of cut mark in it as well, although it could be natural. You do get that with these type of Sarsens. This looks like it's been there a very long time, and he told us there are many more underneath the surface which we're not going to be able to see, but the ones on the surface include this one, which is in the center of this strange circle, which we thought was kind of interesting, but actually he informed us this may be like a drainage area. However, there are Sarsen stones, smaller ones, all the way around the edge of this, which I find quite interesting. You can sort of see those all the way around here, but the main one here, this looks like it's not, wasn't here originally. It's probably been placed there. It's been damaged and chipped away at, but very interesting nonetheless. And over here, this lump you see going all the way along their garden, this is the Wansdyke. This is the extremely long earthwork that goes up that hill, and it stretches across the entire landscape. So the fact is, it could be part of the connection with Stonehenge. But this one here is absolutely gigantic. This is the one we saw from the road. You can just see this. Look at that. Here at Clatford Farm, this is many stones here that are probably part of the area where the original Stonehenge stones came from, and we're actually right next to the Wansdyke. You can see that behind me here going all the way along and that way as well. And let me just show you it over here. And you can see a great shot of a massive standing stone, cut marks in it, and the Wansdyke kind of going up there. And you can see the ditch within the dyke going all the way along here, all the way up there. So I'm going to send the drone up. We've got permission so we can actually check this out. I'm going to look at this stone down here first, see if there's any interesting features on it. Be interesting to get a sample, see if it is exactly the same as the ones at Stonehenge. But yeah, this is pretty big. Looks a bit quite badly weathered actually, this one. This is the biggest stone, the largest one we can see here. Look at the size of this. This is like one of the diamond stones like you get actually at Avebury, but this could have been intended for Stonehenge. You see the scale of it. It's just right here on the bank of the Wansdyke, which we know dates around 1500 BC, so the Bronze Age, Iron Age construction. We're just leaving Clatford Farm, just on the edge of Westwoods. Many stones here, many Sarsens, and this is probably right where these stones were taken from. We've got the Wansdyke just here as well. It's an amazing spot, and it just makes me wonder if there's a connection. If this Wansdyke, you know, as it was built later, as Nick's pointed out, that it could have been marking the territory, or it could be splitting the territory between the Stonehenge people and the Avebury people. Who knows? It's just an amazing place, and very kindly we were given permission to be here. So we're just driven down way past the main car park here at Westwoods, and we just spotted this bit of the woods here, and we just wanted to check it out. And of course there's massive blocks of Sarsen stone all over the ground here, this one in particular, and there's others here. These are all just sort of half in the ground, half on the surface. I mean, some of these could be like one giant block, different parts of it sticking out. Another piece here. Again, you can see them going all the way up into the hill there. And we were told in the valleys and on the hills, which is pretty much everywhere to be honest with you, there's going to be a lot of them. And here is one sticking out of the ground that's got like shaping, almost striations on the side of it there. Other ones here. This has got, they've got what look like kind of cuts on them, but not too sure. I don't know what you think. Let us know in the comments if you think there's anything of interest here. This one's got like a right angle cut on it, covered in kind of moss and lichen. This one's been split. Look at that. So this could be evidence of the Stonehenge builders working the stone, like trying to split stone. But this is obviously a small piece unless it goes deep into the ground. It's pretty amazing. This one area has got a lot of them. And this really long piece here as well. It's sort of almost like a slender megalith sticking out of the ground. So this is just by the side of the track that we've just come down. Look at this. This could have been easily the size of one of the ones from Stonehenge. This is a giant. So this could have been, it looks like it was one stone. It could have been one of the choice ones from Stonehenge, but maybe it was a bit rough, not quite the right shape or something. But it's thick. It looks like it's been shaped. This is absolutely incredible, this one. This is huge. I bet this was one they done some of the tests on, because this is gigantic. And it looks like it was one piece. not two pieces. You can see the size of it just with nick there. That's just one piece of it. Then you have this piece as well, which looks like it's been broken and split. There's other pieces down there that could have joined it together. So yeah, this looks like this could be the location, more likely, of certainly some of the stones of Stonehenge. Also just behind us, that there is actually a large stone.
Yeah.
And over the road, there's another one just behind that kind of light coloured tree. Absolutely incredible everywhere you look. It's got like sort of little cut marks in it. And this one though, look at the shaping on that. That just looks like it's been cut, shaped already. It could have been prepared to go to Stonehenge. So this one here, all in all, is about 20 feet tall, I reckon. That's like maybe 18 or 20 feet. If you get the whole thing in, all the way down there, maybe even longer. That is quite amazing. And over the road here, Nick's just made his way up to another gigantic one. So again, you know, there's many stones here that have been quarried over many different generations. Just little stones everywhere. And then we've got this gigantic one that's semi-standing upright. Look at this. Wow.
I know, yeah.
That is a giant stone, isn't it? Looks more like a stone from Avebury, but this is probably where they took them from, nearby.
Okay.
That is incredible. Let's just get there. Wow. So we've just finished our exploration of Westwoods. We had time to have an interview also with Andrew Collins about some of his experiences there and some of the things he's researched there. We've looked into the geodesy a little bit, but we've really found nothing of significance. However, with the stones we've found, we're going to actually send the coordinates to Robin Heath, see if he comes up with anything. And one other thing I noticed is that, having been to Stonehenge, within the stones, read the report, now been to Westwoods and checked out everything else in this vicinity, what is interesting is that if you orient from the middle of Stonehenge towards Westwoods directly, the stones in Stonehenge in the northern part, where that orientation would be, aren't from Westwoods. It's really odd. So the ones that are oriented and the closest to Westwoods are not from there originally. So I find that very weird, very interesting. And there's probably maybe something in that we need to investigate more. But overall, it's just amazing to be able to come to the place, the site, the birthplace of Stonehenge, where most of the Sarsens actually came from. We've been to the Bluestone site in Preseli, 2 or 3 of the sites in there. And so it's just really cool that there's one relatively locally in Wiltshire that produced the stones that are part of the world's most famous stone circle at Stonehenge itself.